In this video we will explain in depth the use of the Select mode. The Select mode, together with the Draw mode, are the two most used editing modes in JOSM. We will see how to select and unselect nodes, ways and groups of those objects using this editing mode, and how to move those objects. Finally, we will also explain how to add a new node between the two extremes of a way segment using the Select mode, and how to rotate and scale a way using this mode. To activate the Select mode, we can go to the left Tools panel, and click on the Select mode button at the top of it. We could also go to the JOSM menu, click on Mode and then Select Mode. But easiest of all is to use the S shortcut. First of all, we will see how to select nodes. Here we have an standalone node of a village place, with its name. To select it, and always with the Select mode activated, we only have to position the cursor over the node and click on it with the left mouse button. If we go to the Select window on the right panel, we can see that the node is marked as selected, and we can check its tags in the Tags window too. To unselect it, we can just click again in an empty area of the map. Alternatively, if we click in another object, the previous selected object is unselected automatically. For example, if we select again the same village node, and then we click on one of the nodes of this building, this unselects the village node at the same time. As we have seen with this last example, we can select standalone nodes as well as nodes that are part of a way. We can also select a way using the Select mode. To select a way, we need to click on any of the segments of the way. For example, if we want to select this path here, we can click on any of its two segments. Let's click on its northern segment for example. We can see that the way is now red, telling it is selected. We can also see that the way is selected in the Select window, and its tags. The same way, we could select other ways, like this building for example. Be aware that, if you click on one of the way nodes, you will be selecting that node, but not the way. We can select more than one object at the same time. For that, we have several possibilities. If we want to select only a few objects, we can do as follows: we can use the Control key while selecting. For example, if we want to select the village place node, this path, and this building, we hold down the Control key and we select the three objects, one by one. We can see that the three objects, one node and two ways, have been selected if we check the Select window. As for the Tags window, we can see that there is a mixture of tags, because we have selected three objects of different type. If we want to select all objects in one area, we can left-click in one of its vertexes and drag to draw the selection rectangle. Let's for example select the objects inside this rectangle. When we release the button, all objects, nodes and ways, within the rectangle are selected. But, as we can see, when selecting objects this way, we are not only selecting ways, but also the nodes that are part of them. Now let's unselect these objects. If we choose this other rectangle as our selection area, we can see that we have selected only 2 out of the 4 nodes of the eastern building, and not the building itself. It happens something similar with the path, of which we have selected only one of its nodes, and not the path itself. To add more objects to the selection, we can draw more selection rectangles, holding down the Shift key. For example, we do again the first selection. And we add all the objects at the top right corner of this editing area, holding down the Shift key. We can see that those objects have been added to the selection set. Finally, if we want to unselect the objects of one certain area, we can do it with the aid of the Control key. Let's select, for example, the objects of this area. If we hold down the Control key and we draw a selection rectangle that covers part of that selection area, we can see that the objects within that second rectangle are unselected. Now let's see how to move objects with the Select mode. We can move objects by selecting them and then dragging them to the position we wish. We can move just one standalone node, like the Village Place node for example. But we can move nodes that are part of a way, like this one in this path, or this other node of this building, to make its geometry better. We can move also ways, like this building that it's displaced from its right location. And we can move groups of selected objects, like these two buildings. We select them and we move them to their correct position. Another example would be moving the two northern nodes of this building, so we improve the building shape. We will finish this tutorial with 3 other possible uses of the Select mode. Having the Select mode activated, we can add nodes to a way using the plus signs we can see in the middle points of each of the way segments. For example, if we want to add one node to this path to improve its accuracy, we can place the mouse cursor over the plus sign and then drag it to the position we want to place the new node, like this. Now we can see that the way has 4 nodes and 3 segments, with one plus sign in the middle of each segment. We will now show how we can rotate a way using the Select mode. As an example, we will select this building that has a wrong orientation. Now, holding down the Shift key, the Control key, and the left mouse button at the same time, we move the mouse so we can rotate it to the right position. To finish this tutorial, we will show how we can scale a way using the Select mode. For example, selecting this hut here, if we hold down the Alt key, the Control key and the left mouse button, moving the mouse up and down will scale the hut to the size we wish.